memos that you haven't taken the responsibility that you have as a leader to be prepared to give us a response. And I think the public should be ashamed that they have a Secretary of Education that's not putting the interests of students before the interests of the wealthy that are benefiting from defrauding these students.
Oh, here we go again. Ilhan Omar walks into the committee room, puts on the outrage costume, and starts swinging like she's about to expose the scandal of the century. But this time, Betsy DeVos doesn't play along. She stays calm, sticks to facts, and Omar completely loses control of the script. If you're new here, consider subscribing, because these hearings are turning into political theater real fast.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary DeVos, thank you so much for being here and giving us the opportunity to have this conversation with you. I am curious if you're familiar with the Minnesota School of Business and Global University.
I'm not familiar with that specific school.
Okay. Do you know that they were found to be engaged in consumer fraud?
If they were, I'm assuming there are some borrower defense claims pending for them.
Okay. Memo after memo, the Education Department career staff sent you memos that indicate that these students deserve nothing less than full relief. I know that you've said you haven't read these memos yet, but reports have come out, and I would have expected that you would take the time to read them before appearing before us today. I ask for unanimous consent to enter these 3 memos into the record.
Without objection.
I feel like you should be ashamed of the fact that you don't have answers to these memos, that you haven't looked at these memos, that you haven't taken the responsibility that you have as a leader to be prepared to give us a response. And I think the public should be ashamed that they have a Secretary of Education that's not putting the interests of students before the interests of the wealthy that are benefiting from defrauding these students. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond.
Thank you. The gentlelady's time has expired. Secretary can respond.
Congresswoman, with all due respect, I am very much focused on doing what's right for these students. And the memos to which you're referring preceded me, and they may have been they were relevant to conversation about how we proceeded with policy, but administrations changed and policies changed.
Omar.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, countless news sources have reported on the conflict of interest that run rampant through your top aides, especially those advising you on higher ed and loan servicing. When responding to questions about these conflicts, you have failed to adequately convince Congress and the American people that these conflicts do not interfere with the billions of taxpayer dollars flowing from education to corporate interests. Today, I would like to better understand your decisions for selecting aides and ensuring that their conflicts do not harm taxpayers. Last May, 4 of my colleagues on this committee sent your General Counsel a request for information about conflict of interest surrounding your $2 billion next-gen loan servicing solicitation. Given that this solicitation is given, I would like some information about the team that's leading it. Does Dr. A. Wade Johnson, is he the one that's spearheading this solicitation?
Dr. Johnson is head of the Next Gen Initiative.
All right. According to New York Times investigation, Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role with the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much. Dr. Johnson was also the executive at the 2 financial services companies, First Data Corporation and TSYS, Additionally, Dr. Johnson was hired at least one other TSYS veteran, Mr. Patrick Fox. Have any of Dr. Johnson's previous employers bid on elements of next-gen solicitation?
Congresswoman, all of my staff, all of my team at the Department of Education and Federal Student Aid has gone through their ethics process, has taken and takes their ethics obligations very seriously. We don't have conflicts, and we will not be conflicted. We have continued to have a robust screening process, and can stand and be very resolute about that.
So given that there is about $2 billion per year in taxpayer dollars flowing through this program, will you commit to releasing communication between the procurement team and any of Dr. Johnson's former employees?
So all of the procurement is walled off from the rest.
That would just be yes or no. Would you be committed to releasing any communication between Dr. Johnson and his employees?
Not to releasing internal communication, but the procurement team is walled off from the rest of the team, and the procurement process is very definitely prescribed as to how it has to happen.
That has not clearly answered my question. The federal acquisition regulations have a section on conflict of interest. It states, the general rule is to avoid strictly any conflict of interest or even the appearance of conflict of interest in government contract relations. While many federal laws and regulations place restrictions on actions of government personnel, their official conduct must, in addition, be such that they would not have no reluctance to make a full public disclosure of their actions. You seem to have reluctance to make a full public disclosure of the actions of the head of the department's largest single procurement team, despite there being obvious appearance of conflict of interest. How is your denial to release communication in line with extremely high conflict of interest standards that's required by federal law?
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team.
Okay. But we need the communication that is happening between the procurement team and the employers of Dr. Johnson.
That process is walled off from any other
We've
process.
all seen this routine before. Ilhan Omar gets her 5 minutes, leans into the microphone, and suddenly she's acting like she's the only person in Washington who cares about students. And today, her target is former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. Now, the media wants you to believe Omar was roasting her, but watch closely. This wasn't oversight. This was performance. It starts with Omar pulling out some hyper-specific Minnesota school case, asking DeVos if she knows every detail about it. DeVos says she's not familiar with that specific school, and Omar acts like she just caught her committing a felony. Come on. DeVos ran the entire Department of Education, billions in budget, thousands of employees, and Omar is pretending it's some scandal she doesn't have one obscure fraud case memorized. That's not accountability. That's a gotcha question. Then Omar goes full drama mode. She starts waving around internal memos from career staff, claiming they prove students deserve full relief. And she's furious DeVos hasn't personally studied every memo before walking into the hearing. She literally tells her, you should be ashamed. Ashamed, because she didn't read bureaucratic paperwork written before she even took office. And here's the key moment. DeVos doesn't flinch. She looks right at her and says, those memos preceded me. Administrations change, policies change. That's democracy. That's how elections work. But Omar doesn't want that answer because she's not there for solutions. She's there for a viral clip. So what does she do next? She pivots. Now it's conflict of interest. Now it's corporate influence. Now it's the classic left-wing boogeyman. Private sector experience equals corruption. She starts attacking Dr. Wayne Johnson, the official leading the Next Gen Loan Servicing Initiative. She lists his resume like it's a criminal record. Oh, look, he worked at financial companies. Yeah, that's kind of the point.
If you're running loan servicing, maybe you hire someone who understands loan servicing. But Omar hears private sector and immediately screams conspiracy. Then she demands DeVos release internal communications between procurement staff and Johnson's former colleagues. DeVos gives the adult answer. Procurement is walled off, ethics reviews are done, safeguards are in place. That's standard. That's how federal contracting works. But Omar keeps pushing. Yes or no? She quotes acquisition regulations about avoiding even the appearance of conflict. And DeVos repeats, calmly, the person you named isn't even part of the procurement team. The process is separated for a reason. And that's when Omar snaps. Unbelievable. No, what's unbelievable is watching a sitting member of Congress treat serious oversight like it's reality TV. DeVos stayed professional. Omar stayed theatrical. One came to govern. The other came to grandstand. So what do you think? Was this real accountability or just another Omar camera moment? Drop your thoughts below. And if you're tired of political performances and want the truth instead, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned.